I wasn't going to post this. Honestly, I've been hovering over the delete button for 3 nights straight, convincing myself that if I just erase it all, maybe I'll start sleeping again. But that hasn't worked. And after what I saw, I think you deserve to know the truth. SpongeBob was my childhood. Like really, Saturday mornings with cereal, trying to imitate his laugh until my mom threatened to throw the TV remote out the window. Bikini Bottom felt safe, happy, a place where nothing truly bad could happen. That's exactly why this is so messed up. If Nickelodeon sees this, my channel might get taken down. That's not me being dramatic. I mean it. The file I'm about to tell you about shouldn't exist. Someone inside the network sent it to me, and their email was almost begging me not to open it. It was short, just 3 words. You'll regret this. They were right. I can't stop thinking about what I saw. It's burned into the back of my eyelids like an afterimage from staring into the sun. It didn't just ruin SpongeBob for me, it ruined a part of my brain. I promise I'll tell you everything. I'll walk you through the episode frame by frame if I have to, but you have to stick with me until the end, because what Nickelodeon did to cover this up is worse than the episode itself. Maybe you'll think I'm exaggerating. Maybe you'll think this is some kind of internet story to scare kids. But if you've ever felt like there's something off about those old SpongeBob reruns, the way the colors look too bright, or the laugh track hits half a second too late, you need to hear this. This is about more than a lost episode. This is about why it was erased. And if you're still here by the end, maybe you'll understand why I wish I never hit play. I grew up in one of those houses where the TV was basically the third parent. My dad worked double shifts, my mom was always tired, and SpongeBob was, well, he was there, constantly. Every afternoon after school, I'd dump my backpack on the floor, grab a bowl of cereal no matter what time it was, and flip on Nickelodeon. The opening theme was my signal that everything was okay. Homework could wait. The world could wait. I was that kid who quoted SpongeBob lines at lunch until the other kids begged me to stop. I think a lot of you know what I mean. SpongeBob was safe. He was silly. He was this weird little sponge who somehow made life's problems look so small. And maybe that's why, when I saw what I saw, it felt like someone took a sledgehammer to my childhood. Anyway, it had been years since I'd even thought about SpongeBob. Life happens, right? You get older, you start worrying about rent instead of cartoons. Then, out of nowhere, a week ago, I get this email. No subject line. No sender name I recognized. Just a single attachment and a warning in the body text. Nick Archives leak. Do not open. That was it. No hello, no explanation. First I laughed. I get spam all the time, especially running a channel like this. Leaked footage is practically a genre by now. Usually it's clickbait or some poorly edited creepypasta knockoff someone wants me to cover. But the file name caught my eye. SB129_final for unreleased MP4. SB129. The title of an actual SpongeBob episode, one of the early ones, where Squidward gets frozen and time travels. I remember loving that one as a kid. Something about the empty, echoing future version of Bikini Bottom stuck with me. I hovered over the file, telling myself it was probably just a fan edit. Maybe even one of those realistic horror SpongeBob memes people make to be edgy. Still, my finger hesitated before clicking, and I wish I had ignored it, because from the second I pressed play, I knew this wasn't a joke. The weird thing was, the email didn't behave like a normal email. When I tried to click reply, my browser froze for a second. The whole screen went white and then glitched, just a quick stutter like an old VHS tape getting chewed up, before everything came back. The sender's address was just a string of numbers and letters, almost like a hash key. No name, no domain, nothing I could trace. That should have been my first warning. I screenshotted the email and sent it to my friend Alex. He's my go-to tech guy whenever something shady hits my inbox. Dude, don't touch that, he texted back almost instantly. Why not? Could be malware. Or worse, a federal honeypot. Just delete it. He wasn't wrong. Everything about it screamed, don't open. The text looked like it had been pasted from a typewriter. Misaligned letters, random spacing. Even the timestamp on the email was wrong. It said it had been sent on January 1st, 1970. But curiosity is a hell of a drug. I downloaded the file anyway, half expecting my laptop to explode or something. Instead, the screen just dimmed for a moment before dropping the video onto my desktop. SB129_final for unreleased MP4. I stared at that name for way too long. It felt heavy, like the file itself was aware I was looking at it. When I hovered my mouse over it, the thumbnail stayed black. No preview, no runtime, nothing. I messaged Alex again. Still there. Yeah, please tell me you didn't open it. Not yet. Good. Don't. I should have listened to him. I knew opening it was a bad idea. I could feel it in my stomach, the way you feel just before doing something you know you'll regret. But something about the file, it felt like it was waiting for me. So I clicked, and I'm gonna tell you what I saw, frame by frame if I have to, but not yet. You need to understand why it felt so wrong before you see what I saw. Because once I start describing it, you can't unhear it. When the file finally opened, I braced myself for a jump scare. But that's not what happened. It started like a completely normal SpongeBob episode. The screen faded in on a sunny morning in Bikini Bottom. The familiar ukulele theme played softly in the background. For a moment, I actually laughed at myself. Maybe it really was just a lost episode someone ripped from an old VHS. But then I noticed the timing. The title card never appeared. No cheery narrator voice announcing, "Ah, another beautiful day in Bikini Bottom." Just the sound of waves, faint and endless. SpongeBob's pineapple came into view, and he stepped outside, smiling that huge, goofy grin. But the way he moved, it was slow. Not laggy exactly, just a fraction too sluggish, like the animation was running at 90% speed. At first I thought it was just my computer. I even tapped the spacebar, wondering if my player was buffering. It wasn't. SpongeBob waved to Squidward's house, like he always did. But instead of Squidward's annoyed face popping out of the window, nothing happened. The camera just lingered on SpongeBob smiling, hands still frozen mid-wave. It held there for a good 5 seconds too long, long enough for me to start feeling uncomfortable. Then came the laugh track. You know that iconic, silly laugh SpongeBob does? Yeah, it played, but not from him. It sounded like it was coming from a live audience somewhere else. Like a sitcom laugh track had been dumped into the mix. And it was wrong. It was too loud, too sharp, and a beat too late. I leaned closer to my screen, trying to tell if maybe this was some kind of fan-made parody. But no. Everything else looked exactly like the show I remembered. The colors were slightly muted, maybe, but still recognizably SpongeBob. SpongeBob started walking down the street toward the Krusty Krab. His steps were echoey, as if he were walking through a giant empty warehouse, not the bustling streets of Bikini Bottom. The familiar fish characters weren't there, no one at all, actually. Just SpongeBob walking, humming softly to himself. The camera followed him for what felt like forever. It reminded me of those dreams where you try to run, but everything feels slowed down. The music never picked up. No cheery transitions, no scene cuts. When the Krusty Krab finally appeared in the distance, I realized I'd been holding my breath. And that's when I saw him. Squidward. He was standing outside the restaurant, completely still, his clarinet clutched in one hand. His eyes were wrong. Not exaggerated cartoon eyes, these looked almost too real, too detailed. And I knew something was wrong. Squidward didn't speak. He didn't even blink. The frame just held on him, staring out toward me, or maybe past me, for a solid 10 seconds. Then, without warning, he raised the clarinet to his mouth and began to play. The sound that came out was not music. It started as the usual nasally clarinet tone we all know, but it wavered almost immediately, dipping flat in the wrong places like someone had bent the audio. At first it was funny in that absurd, meme-worthy way. I even snorted under my breath. Then the laugh track hit. Not the warm, goofy kind. This one was loud, so loud it made me flinch. The laughter was jagged, echoing, like it had been recorded in a metal room. And it didn't sound like a crowd anymore. It sounded like one person laughing, breathless and cruel, right into my ear. Squidward kept playing, even though his notes grew slower, sadder, until they didn't even sound like notes at all. His face began to droop. His normally exaggerated, cartoony frown looked heavier, realer. I swear I could see the lines in his skin deepen. The laugh track cut off mid-chuckle, leaving a ringing silence behind. And then Squidward started crying. It was quiet at first, barely a sniffle, but the camera zoomed closer and closer to his face until his entire head filled the screen. His sobs grew louder, ragged, like whoever voiced him had been made to actually cry during recording. The sound mixing distorted, clipping hard enough to rattle in my headphones. I wanted to pause the video, but my keyboard didn't respond. I clicked frantically, even tried to close the media player, but it just ignored me. Squidward kept crying. The background started to blur. I couldn't tell if it was the animation itself or my own vision swimming, but everything around him seemed to darken until Squidward was the only thing lit. His tears didn't look like cartoon tears anymore. They shone like wet glass, catching the light in a way that made my stomach twist. And then the screen cut to black. For a second, I thought the file had ended. But then a single frame flashed so fast I almost didn't catch it. I couldn't make it out completely, but it looked like Squidward's face, pale and frozen, with something red smeared under his eyes. I froze. I can't describe what happened next in detail, but you need to hear it. The crying came back, but now it wasn't Squidward's. It was a child's, high-pitched, distant, but echoing like it was in the same room as me. The camera pulled back to reveal Squidward sitting on the floor of the Krusty Krab, clarinet lying next to him. The restaurant was empty, lights flickering. The sound design was unbearable. Every drop of his tears hit the floor with a wet smack, too loud, too real. My chest felt tight, like I was intruding on something private, something I wasn't meant to see. I should have turned it off right then. I should have deleted the file, burned my laptop, anything. But I didn't, because as awful as it was, I couldn't look away. The screen glitched. Not the normal kind of glitch, either no buffering wheel, no media player error message. Just a sharp crackle, like someone tearing paper right next to my ear, and then a wall of static filled the screen. I yanked my headphones off, but the sound didn't stop. That's when I realized it wasn't coming from the video anymore. The static was in my room. I know how insane that sounds, but if you were there, you'd swear it was true. It was like standing too close to an old tube TV, that prickly hum crawling over your skin, except there was no TV, just my laptop, frozen on a mess of gray noise. And underneath the static, I heard voices. Not full words at first, just faint murmurs, like two people whispering in the next room over. I turned around, half expecting to see someone behind me. My apartment was empty. When I put the headphones back on, the whispering got louder. "Keep watching," a voice said. I jerked back so hard I nearly knocked my chair over. It wasn't a scream or a jump scare, just a calm, steady voice, right against my eardrum, like someone was leaning in to whisper a secret. And then the video unpaused on its own. Squidward was still on the floor of the Krusty Krab, but now he was staring directly into the camera. Not at SpongeBob, not at anything off-screen, at me. I don't mean the way a character sometimes breaks the fourth wall for a joke. This was different. It felt personal. His pupils were tiny pinpricks, trembling, and his breathing synced with mine. I shut the laptop, heart hammering. The sound kept playing. That's when I realized something was very, very wrong. The static was still hissing, faint but unmistakable, even with my laptop closed. I actually laughed at that point, one of those nervous, slightly hysterical laughs. "Okay," I said out loud, "good one. Whoever sent me this, you win. You're probably watching me right now, aren't you? Some Nickelodeon lawyer with a kill switch." The whisper came again, right in my left ear. "Don't stop now." I froze, because this time it wasn't coming through the headphones. I reached for my phone, planning to call Alex, but the screen wouldn't turn on. It just flickered with that same gray static, like it had synced with the laptop. And then, Just as suddenly as it started, everything stopped. The static cut out. My room was dead quiet. The laptop lid popped open on its own. No joke. And the episode resumed as if nothing had happened. By then, my hands were shaking so badly, I couldn't even think about touching the keyboard. I should have run. I should have left the apartment. But instead, I sat back down, because as terrifying as it was, a part of me needed to know where this was going. Squidward didn't blink. He just sat there, staring through the screen at me, pupils like pinholes. The camera pushed in closer, slowly, almost reluctantly, until his face filled the entire frame. The background had vanished completely. No Krusty Krab, no tables, no flickering lights. Just Squidward. And then his eyes started to bleed. At first, it was just a single bead of red at the corner of his right eye, so small I almost thought it was a stray pixel. Then another drop followed, sliding down his cheek in a slow, sticky line. By the time the third appeared, both eyes were leaking, the crimson too bright and too detailed to be anything Nickelodeon would ever animate. I swallowed hard, but my throat was bone dry. This wasn't cartoon blood. It glistened, catching an invisible light source, running in irregular streaks that stained his normally pale face a deep rust color. The sound design made it worse. Each teardrop hit something below the frame with a wet pat, echoing faintly as if the floor beneath him were hollow. And then came the first frame. It lasted less than a second, but it hit like a hammer. The screen cut to a black and white image, grainy and overexposed, of what looked like a real photograph. I didn't get all of it, couldn't really, but there were shapes, human-shaped, lying in what might have been a tiled room. Before I could even process it, the frame was gone. Back to Squidward. His breathing had changed. It wasn't cartoon panting anymore. It sounded wet, labored, painfully human. His mouth trembled like he was about to speak, but instead he let out a sound I'll never forget. A sharp, strangled gasp that broke halfway through, like someone trying to hold back a scream. Another frame flashed. This one was clearer. A word, scrawled in jagged white letters across a pitch-black background. Keep watching. I recoiled, chair screeching across the floor. For a moment I just sat there, heart pounding in my ears, trying to decide if I was hallucinating. But when the episode didn't stop, when Squidward's face remained fixed in that grotesque, tear-streaked stare, I leaned forward again, because of course I did. I had to know what was next. The screen cut again, faster this time, almost strobing between Squidward's face and a series of increasingly clear images. Some were just shapes or smears of red. Others looked almost medical, close-ups of eyes, mouths, unidentifiable tissue. Each frame lasted just long enough for my brain to catch it, but not long enough to look away. And then came the sound. It started as a low hum, deep and metallic, like an engine idling in another room. Slowly, it rose in pitch until it became a wail, shrill enough to make my teeth ache. Squidward's mouth opened wider and wider, his jaw unhinging far beyond what a cartoon character's ever should, until his entire head seemed split in half. The crying came back, layered now with faint, distant screaming. Sounded real, too real, like someone had taken a field recorder into a hospital or a crime scene. I gripped the arms of my chair so hard my knuckles went white. "Okay," I said out loud, my own voice shaking. "Okay, I get it. You win." But the video didn't stop. Another frame flashed. "You wanted this." My stomach dropped. The camera zoomed so close to Squidward's eyes that all I could see was the trembling rim of red around his pupils. The whites of his eyes had gone gray, like paper soaked in dirty water. And then, in a moment I still can't explain, the screen seemed to breathe. Not figuratively. The image expanded, warped outward, as if the display itself was exhaling. For half a second, I swear I smelled something metallic, sharp and sweet, like rust and salt water. And then, just as my hand reached for the power button, The screen went black.
No credits.
No music. Just a single phrase in white letters, lingering there like it was burned into the screen itself. Keep watching. I don't know how long I sat there. Seconds, minutes, it felt like hours. My reflection in the blank screen stared back at me, pale and wide-eyed. And then the video started playing again on its own. The first thing I did was slam my laptop shut, but the sound kept playing. It was faint now, muffled through the lid, but I could still hear Squidward's uneven breathing, the wet drip of his tears hitting the floor. My skin crawled. I yanked the charger out of the wall, held the power button until my thumb ached. The screen stayed black, but the audio didn't stop. I staggered backward, heart hammering. That's when the lights in my apartment flickered once, twice, then steadied. The air felt heavy, like a storm was about to break right in my living room. When I opened the laptop again, the episode wasn't where I'd left it. Squidward was gone. The camera now showed SpongeBob's pineapple house, dark and silent. The windows were blacked out. No movement inside. The frame stayed perfectly still for a full minute before slowly, so slowly, the front door creaked open. I didn't touch anything. This wasn't the episode I'd started watching. This wasn't any episode. My phone buzzed suddenly, and I nearly jumped out of my chair. It was a message from Alex. "Hey, you good? You went offline." I didn't answer. When I looked back at the screen, the scene had changed again. The Krusty Krab was empty, lights off, but the camera was inside now, sitting low to the floor, as though someone was lying there watching the door. Then I heard it, my name, whispered, just once, right before the speakers popped with static. That's when the real panic set in. I grabbed the laptop, ready to throw it against the wall. But the instant I moved, the image changed again. This time it was my apartment. Not exactly my apartment. No, this was off somehow. The furniture was wrong, but close enough. The layout was identical. The camera angle was looking out from what would have been my bedroom, pointed straight down the hallway. I dropped the laptop onto the table like it had burned me. "What the hell is this?" I said out loud. No one answered. I backed away until I was standing against the far wall, but my eyes wouldn't leave the screen. Every time I blinked, the image shifted, now showing a closer angle, now a different room. Like someone was walking through that space, step by step, getting nearer to wherever the camera was placed. I don't remember sitting back down, but suddenly I was in front of the screen again, breathing hard. And then I saw something move in the background. I can't describe what happened next in detail, not yet, but you need to hear it, because what I saw next still keeps me awake at night. The screen flickered again, hard enough to make my vision swim, and suddenly Squidward was back. But he wasn't crying anymore. He was lying on the floor of the Krusty Krab, sprawled out in a way that no cartoon character should ever be drawn. Limbs twisted slightly wrong, head tilted at an angle that made my stomach flip. His clarinet lay just out of reach, and his eyes, they were open, glassily, horribly open. No music played this time.
No ambient nuisa, no laugh track.
Just silence, so thick I could hear my own pulse pounding in my ears. The image didn't move, not a single frame of animation, until the screen was suddenly swallowed by a wall of static. I sat frozen, staring into the noise, waiting for something, anything, to happen. And then, slowly, like a bad dream unspooling frame by frame, the Nickelodeon Splash logo appeared. Only it wasn't right. The usual bright orange was almost black, the letters shaking, warping, as if the image file itself was decaying. And then I heard it. Childlike laughter, faint at first, then rising, overlapping on itself until it became unbearable. Too many voices laughing all at once, some high, some low, some completely distorted, until it sounded more like screaming than laughter. I clamped my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The sound was inside my skull, and then it stopped. The screen went black. I thought it was over, but a second later my email notification pinged. My stomach dropped when I saw the sender. The same string of numbers and letters from before. The subject line was blank again, but the body of the email contained just 4 words. Delete this or else. No attachment this time. No explanation. I stared at the message until the notification faded, half expecting another to follow. None came. When I looked back at the laptop, the file was gone. Not in the recycle bin, not in my downloads folder, just gone, as if it had never existed. And maybe that should have been a relief. But instead, something twisted inside me. Because even though I was terrified, even though I wanted to throw my laptop into the street, a bigger part of me needed to know why. Why it existed. Why someone went to so much trouble to erase it. And most of all, why I couldn't stop thinking about Squidward's eyes. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in the glow of my monitor, refreshing my inbox every 10 minutes, waiting for another email that never came. When the sun finally started bleeding through my blinds, I opened a private browser window and started digging. It didn't take long to find something. Buried under years of memes and fake creepypastas, there were a handful of old forum threads, most of them archived, half-broken, dating back to 2008. The titles stopped me cold. SB 129 alternate ending? Weird Squidward edit on my tape? Nick Studio intern leak? Most of the posts were useless. Kids speculating about lost episodes, trading VHS rips that no longer worked, but a few stood out. One user described watching an episode that wouldn't end, no matter how many times they tried to turn off their TV. Another said they saw realistic blood in a scene with Squidward and swore they heard whispering in their own room. And then there were the users who never posted again. Half the threads ended abruptly with people saying they were going to upload footage soon, only to go completely silent. Their accounts still existed, but with no new posts. Some even had their entire comment history wiped. It was like they'd been erased. The deeper I dug, the more I found. References to internal Nickelodeon memos, rumors about staff being fired for unauthorized distribution, whispers about something called the Archive Purge in 2010. By the time I looked up, hours had passed. My coffee was cold. My hands were shaking, but not from fear anymore. This was something else. Obsession. I don't know if what I saw was part of a bigger conspiracy or just one isolated nightmare someone smuggled out of a server room. But the fact that other people had seen something, that they'd been silenced, that means this isn't just me losing my mind. And that's why I'm posting this. If any of you remember something, anything, strange about old SpongeBob episodes, leave a comment. I need to know I'm not alone in this. Because if Nickelodeon really went this far to bury the truth, then what else are they hiding? Listen, if you've made it this far, you're braver than I was when I first opened that file. I need you to do something for me. If you've ever seen anything like this, an episode that felt wrong, a moment where SpongeBob wasn't funny but scary, leave a comment. Tell me everything. The date, the channel, what you remember. Even if it sounds crazy. Especially if it sounds crazy. Because I think this goes deeper than one leaked file. But I need to warn you. Once you start looking, you might not be able to stop. I've been staring at old screenshots for hours, and sometimes I swear I see Squidward's face in the static, blinking like he's trying to get my attention. If that starts happening to you, close your laptop. Walk away, and if this video disappears, you'll know why. Nickelodeon doesn't want this out there, which is exactly why we can't let it die in some forgotten forum thread. Like, share, save it somewhere offline, spread it before someone pulls it down. Because I'm not done. I'm gonna keep digging, no matter what it costs me. And if I find anything worse, I'll post it here. Just don't watch alone next time. I was about to shut my laptop down for the night when I heard it. Faint, distant, so soft I thought I was imagining it. A single, lonely clarinet note. It drifted through my apartment like smoke, thin and reedy, just barely there. The same off-key sound I'd heard in the episode. I froze. My speakers were unplugged. My laptop battery was dead. I'd made sure of it. But the sound didn't stop. Another note followed, lower this time, mournful, like someone playing just for me. Then another, slowly forming a tune I knew too well. The same piece Squidward always plays in the show, the one that everyone laughs at. Only now there was no laughter. I grabbed my phone and hit record, whispering into the mic that it was happening again. I wanted proof this time. Proof that it wasn't just in my head. But when I played the audio back, there was nothing. Just silence. The clarinet kept playing. Right now, as I'm uploading this, I can still hear it. It's closer than before, like whoever's playing is just outside my door. If this video suddenly goes down, you'll know why. And if you're still watching, don't stop here. Watch my other case files before they vanish. I have a feeling I'm not going to get many more chances to tell you the truth.